Hey friend, welcome back to The Gentle Reset, your no judgment zone for creating a home that actually works for you. I'm Allison, ADHD home and systems coach, former occupational therapist, and mom of two, and I'm so glad you're here. If you've ever felt like your family isn't on board with decluttering, or maybe you've tried to get them involved and it just turns into resistance or battles, then this episode is for you. We're going to talk about simple ADHD-friendly ways to include your family in the process without forcing it. Let's take one simple step together today. Here's your weekly 3, a mind hack, a home hack, and a personal highlight to help your home feel lighter, more functional, and easier to maintain. Today we're talking about how to get your family on board with decluttering without the battles. You'll hear a mindset shift that can take the pressure off both you and your family. I'll also share some practical ways to involve your kids, spouse, or even adult family members in the process. And finally, I'll tell you a story from my own downsizing journey and what I learned about including family along the way. Let's jump in with today's mind hack. Hey friend, before we dive into practical strategies today, I want to start with a mindset shift. A lot of times when moms come to me, they're really worried about their kids' lack of organization skills. And what I notice is that so much pressure gets put on the kids to suddenly get it right, to clean their rooms a certain way, follow routines that don't actually work for their brains, or keep up with organizing rules that feel way too complicated. And here's the thing, when ADHD is in the mix, that pressure feels even heavier. Just getting started, switching, or finishing a task can be overwhelming. That extra stress from someone else's expectations often makes it even harder and can backfire, shutting them down completely. The more you push, the more resistant they become. And that's not just true for kids. It could be a spouse, an older child living at home, or even another adult family member. You cannot force someone to declutter or organize before they're ready. And if you've tried, you've probably felt that wall of resistance. If your family member is resistant, know that it's usually not about you, and they're not just being difficult. There are usually reasons behind it. Maybe they don't see the value, maybe they've had a bad experience with decluttering before, or they just don't feel like they have the time. Sometimes it's even personal, like feeling attacked when asked to get rid of their stuff. Keeping that in mind can help you show up with more patience and understanding. So instead of forcing, I want you to flip the focus. Start with yourself. Focus on being patient, giving a little grace, and just modeling the changes yourself. When your family sees you making progress, when they see you calmer, lighter, and less stressed, that curiosity kicks in. They start to wonder what's different. And honestly, that's often the turning point. It's not the lecture or the "you need to do this right now" conversation that gets through. It's them watching you. Think about it. If you're no longer overwhelmed by piles on the counter, or you're actually able to sit down at the end of the night without guilt, that shift is noticeable. And little by little, your family members may start asking questions, pitching in, or even copying what you're doing because they've seen the benefits play out in real life. That's the power of modeling. You're showing them a path forward instead of dragging them onto it through nagging or lecturing. All right, let's talk about some practical ways to bring your family into the process without making it a battle. First, this is a big one. Don't go through your family members' things without asking first. That usually creates more tension and breaks trust. Now, with little kids, it's a little different. You can make some of those decisions when toys are broken or way too young for them, but even then, I've found it works better to involve them whenever possible, even if it's just giving them a small choice. For example, with kids, it might be letting them pick between donating stuffed animals or board games, or even asking, would you rather start with this drawer or that shelf? That small choice gives them ownership and lowers resistance. And honestly, the same idea works with adults too. Whether it's a spouse, an older child, or even a parent, starting with something low stakes and giving them a little say in the process helps keep it from feeling forced. That's why I always recommend starting small. Instead of tackling an entire bedroom, begin with just one small space, like a junk drawer or a small cabinet. That way you and your family member can see progress right away without it feeling overwhelming. And when you're working side by side, lean in on some simple questions instead of commands. Things like, when was the last time you used this? Or do we actually have space for this? And if it's sentimental, how can we store it so it's safe and not just in the way? Another thing that makes a huge difference is setting up systems that are so obvious that anyone can use them. I'll give you an example from my own house. I once asked my husband what the most helpful organizing system was in our home, and he said the silverware drawer because knowing things have a place is helpful. That made me laugh, but it's true. He can unload the dishwasher without asking me where anything goes because it's clear and easy. And that's what we're aiming for, making it simple enough that anyone in the family can jump in and put things away. And really, involving your family isn't about organizing a certain way, it's about bringing them into the process, helping them join in without pressure, giving them small ways to take part, and making it easier for everyone without forcing them into something they're not ready for. And remember, this is your journey, and it's still possible even if your family isn't 100% on board. And I've seen this play out in my own home too. Our downsizing journey was a perfect example of how different family members get involved in their own way. During that time in 2021, my kids were about 2 and 4, so honestly, they weren't super involved yet. I was the one making most of the decisions on toys and baby gear we didn't need anymore. My husband has ADHD, and he just wasn't in the best headspace at the time to deal with this stuff, and that's really common. ADHD can make transitions and decision-making feel very overwhelming. So instead of adding more pressure or pushing him to go through everything, I focused on my own things first and modeled what was possible. I cleared out my closet, my stuff, the kitchen, the areas that I was responsible for, the things that were weighing me down. And with his stuff, I just tried to encourage and support him, but ultimately I let him decide when he was ready. What I noticed is that the more I let go of my own things, the lighter our home started to feel, and that created a shift. My husband could see the difference, and slowly he started to come around. And that experience taught me that involving family members doesn't always mean dragging them into the process right away. Sometimes it just means showing them what's possible, making your own life easier, and giving them the space to join in when ready. And honestly, that's the approach I teach my clients too. You don't have to force it, you just start and let the ripple effect do its work. If this episode hit home and you're wishing your family would get more involved, but you're not sure how to make that happen, I'd love to hear from you. Fill out my quick curiosity form. It's a no judgment space to share what's been hard and what you're hoping for in your home. I'll follow up personally with support and next steps, and you'll find the link in the show notes. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Instead of pushing your family, focus on showing patience and modeling the changes you want to see. Pick one small space this week, a drawer, a cabinet, or a shelf, and ask simple questions as you go to make decisions easier. Notice how your own progress lightens your load, and trust that those changes can spark curiosity and involvement from your family too. Well, that's it for today, friend. If this episode spoke to you, will you send it to a friend who needs it too? It's always comforting to know we're not the only ones struggling, especially when it comes to getting our families on board. And if you have a second, leaving a quick review helps me reach more ADHD women who need support in their homes. Remember, one small shift at a time creates momentum. You're doing better than you think, and I'm so proud of you. See you next week on The Gentle Reset for another Weekly 3.